As gamers, we often crave games with substantial playtime, wanting to sink our teeth into experiences that can last 40, 50, even hundreds of hours. There's something satisfying about losing ourselves in a vast world, mastering complex systems, and becoming fully immersed in a story. However, there's also a unique joy in discovering bite-sized gaming experiences that can pack a punch. These shorter games, often overlooked, can surprise us with their depth, innovation, and emotional impact. They remind us that you don't need dozens of hours to create a memorable experience. So, let's celebrate the short but sweet. And in the spirit of that, I'm going to keep each one of these short and sweet. Starting with number 1, Pseudo Regalia. You wake up in a strange castle as a horned warrior in track shorts, and that's probably the most normal thing that happens. The game doesn't offer a map or any direction, it just turns you loose in a low poly maze where almost everything looks like it might be climbable if you can figure out how. But what we're dealing with is a 3D Metroidvania built around momentum. Instead of weapons and upgrades unlocking new rooms, it's movements, wall jumps, dive kicks, air boosts. The better you get at reading the space and chaining your moves, the more the world opens up. Exploration is the real core mechanic here, and the level design pushes you to think vertically, diagonally, and even irrationally at times. You can reach the end in 4 to 5 hours, but it's a very dense experience. Every area feels hand-built to test your instincts, and the pacing stays focused throughout. It's the kind of game that trusts you to figure things out, rewards curiosity, and leaves before it runs out of ideas. Number 2, Viewfinder. Have you ever wished that your favorite photo could become a real place? Well, Viewfinder hands you a camera that makes that idea surprisingly practical. You take snapshots of the world around you and place them back into the environment in order to reshape it, bridging gaps, creating platforms, and solving puzzles simply by shifting your perspective. It's a game about observation and experimentation. You're not just looking for the right answer, you're inventing it. And sometimes your solution feels brilliant, and sometimes it's an accidental mess that still works, which honestly might be more satisfying. You'll wrap the game in about 4 hours. The pacing is tight, the ideas build naturally, and the whole experience feels thoughtfully sculpted. It's smart in how it teaches, stylish in how it looks, and satisfying from the first camera click to the last warped perspective. Number 3, Patrick's Parabox. You push a box. That box contains you. You push yourself into a box inside of that box. Then you watch your brain try to climb out the window. Patrick's Parabox is a spatial puzzle game that starts deceptively friendly, bright colors, soothing sounds, and simple little Sokoban-style moves. But within a few levels, it's folding space into itself, inverting logic, and daring you to understand what it means for a thing to contain itself, or to escape itself, or to push a box into a box until it comes back out the other side of yourself. The game takes about 6 hours to beat. The mechanics are airtight and the puzzles escalate beautifully. It's a love letter to recursion, wrapped in a warm hug, then shoved into itself repeatedly until it's a paradox. Number 4, Blackbird. So here's a macabre one for you. The game starts with a sickly little girl dying in the streets, and then she turns into a nightmarish bird as the sky erupts into pixelated chaos. Blackbird is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up soaked in goth weirdness, like someone remade Space Invaders while drowning in a bottle of absinthe. The game is classic arcade simple. It fly in circles, blast everything that moves, and rack up a high score. But it's the style that makes it memorable. Enemies look like cursed toys, buildings topple like cardboard sets, and the whole thing feels like some sort of twisted puppet show in its vibe. There's lore if you want to dig, but mostly it's just rage and feathers. You can finish a run in a little under an hour, but there's a lot of flavor packed into that short time. It's weird, mean, and kind of unforgettable. Up next at number 5, Antichamber. Antichamber is a first-person puzzle game where space just don't quite act right. Rooms loop, stairs vanish, doors ignore logic, and nothing stays where you left it. Every part of the environment is designed to challenge how you think the world should work. Instead of inventory or combat, it's all perception. You'll get a strange gun that manipulates cubes, but the real tool is your willingness to unlearn what video games have taught you. Perhaps you shouldn't follow those arrows, and there is no real way to brute force anything. You're here to think sideways. You're going to finish the game in about 4 to 5 hours, depending on how long you wander in circles second-guessing your own memory. The world shifts behind you, puzzles double back on themselves, and even the most basic rooms feel like puzzles in disguise. This is a game that earns every moment of confusion, with moments of genuine, head-scratching joy. Number 6. The Looker. It smells like The Witness, it looks like The Witness, but it absolutely is not The Witness. The Looker is a lovingly crafted parody of Jonathan Blow's cerebral puzzle epic, and it's here to roast every panel, monologue, and moment of solemn intensity with all the subtlety of a whoopee cushion in a cathedral. You will be taking a gander around a suspiciously familiar island, solving line puzzles, but this time the solutions might involve crayons, exploding boats, or trying not to get emotionally manipulated by a statue. It's not just slapstick either. The puzzles are actually good, with clever twists that toy with your expectations in ways that feel both dumb and smart at the same time. You can finish the whole thing in under 2 hours, depending on how long you stand there laughing at the game's nonsense. It's free, it's sharp, and it's basically required therapy if you ever rage quit The Witness. Number 7. Hidden Folks. So think Where's Waldo, but hand-drawn, interactive, and occasionally yapping at you in cartoon gibberish. Hidden Folks turns simple object hunts into delightful little adventures, full of tiny animations, chaotic environments, and a surprising amount of charm packed into a black and white doodle. Every scene is a busy mess in the best way. Construction zones, forests, festivals, and you're tasked with finding specific people or objects while everything moves, honks, or collapses around you. Poking around makes characters react in weird but often hilarious ways. One guy might be hiding in a tent, another might be fishing, one might just be vibing under a pile of bananas. It can be hard to tell. The game runs for about 4 to 6 hours, depending on how distracted you get, of course. There's no pressure and no chance of failure. However, there is the quiet satisfaction of checking off a list while occasionally making a tiny pixel person scream. Number 8. There is no game, wrong dimension. From the title alone, the game wants you to leave. So seriously, it insists that there's nothing to play. But if you stick around and maybe poke a few buttons that you're not supposed to, you'll discover a fourth wall breaking comedy that spirals into pure chaos. This game is a point-and-click puzzle adventure that hops genres, glitches itself on purpose, and generally acts like a video game that's being haunted by a very sarcastic narrator. It parodies everything from mobile ads to retro arcade games, and somehow still manages to have clever puzzles hiding under the nonsense. Runtime's about 5 to 7 hours. It's funny, smart, self-aware in all the right ways, and yes, despite the name, very much a game. Number 9. The Forest Quartet. You are a ghost, but not the jump scare type, more of the sentimental jazz-loving type that can't quit their band even in death. The Forest Quartet is a brief narrative puzzle game where you float through the emotional worlds of your ex-bandmates, helping them tackle grief, doubt, and depression with peaceful exploration and music magic. Each stage is a trip into a musician's psyche, featuring places like icy woods, fiery caverns, and weird landscapes that change as you play. It's all about exploring and solving simple puzzles, with feelings taking center stage over any real challenge. Your mission is to mend broken paths and spark fading hopes, both in the game world and in the hearts of your old friends. It's about 2 hours long, but it's packed with original jazz compositions and a hand-painted art style that's quite beautiful. Think of it less as a challenge and more as a small, moving performance, and you've got front row seats. Number 10. Sayonara Wild Hearts. What we're dealing with here, ladies and gentlemen, is a rhythm action game wrapped in a breakup story, wrapped in a high-speed tarot-powered journey through glittery void space. Yes, really, that's what we're dealing with. You will guide a masked heroine through fast-paced levels that play like music videos, dodging obstacles, grabbing hearts, and chasing ex-lovers across surreal dreamscapes. One level has you sword fighting on motorcycles, while another is a dance battle in space. The soundtrack absolutely slaps, and the visuals go full vaporwave anime, while the narrator is Queen Latifah for some reason, and we're not asking any questions, are we? You can finish it in under 2 hours, and you'll probably replay it just to feel cool again. again. It's stylish, slick, and surprisingly sweet, like if Rez and Sailor Moon decided to collab on a breakup mixtape. Number 11. Genesis Noir. You're a watchmaker who's in love with a jazz singer, and your rival is the embodiment of gunpowder who just fired the bullet that will become the Big Bang. Genesis Noir is what happens when a cosmic murder mystery collides with a smooth jazz album and an abstract art exhibit, and somehow you're in all three. The gameplay shifts constantly. You'll be planting constellations, unraveling time loops, or coaxing the universe to bloom with saxophone solos. It doesn't ask you to solve puzzles as much as to vibe through them. Each scene is its own weird little pocket of style, using motion, sound, and shapes to tell a story that's part love triangle, part creation myth, and part fever dream. The game takes about 3 to 4 hours to finish, depending on how long you spend soaking up the visuals. It's not really here to challenge your reflexes. It's here to mess with your head and maybe leave you staring at a tree thinking about entropy for a while. Number 12. Dujana. You pilot a giant mech through a desert that's haunted by loss, war, and arcade cabinets that I know more than they should. Dujana is a claymation fever dream, equal parts surrealism and sincerity. One minute you're blasting tanks in a robot that's shaped like a beetle, and the next you're sitting in silence with a grieving stranger in a digital cafe that's barely hanging on. The world is jagged and strange. Models stutter, animations loop weirdly, and it all feels held together by rusty wire and emotion. It's less about solving problems and more about sinking into the weirdness, letting the scattered stories and quiet metaphors wash over you like static. You'll likely be done in about 2 to 3 hours, though it's not really a finish it kind of game. It sticks to your brain in broken fragments, like a dream you half remember and are never quite able to come to terms with. Number 13. Burnhouse Lane. You are a hospice nurse with nothing left to lose, and your shift is about to get existential. Burnhouse Lane starts bleak and low and then keeps digging through death, guilt, and a world just off-kilter enough from your own to make you squint. It's a 2D horror adventure stitched together from rot, rust, and raw emotion. Expect unsettling dialogue, puzzles that feel like they belong in a crumbling fairy tale, and moments where you're not sure whether to be afraid or just sad. We're not talking about jump scare horror here. It's dread you carry with you, even in the daylight. You'll emerge out the other side in about 4 to 5 hours, though you might need a few deep breaths along the way. If Silent Hill ever dropped the combat and just went for the emotional jugular, it would probably look something like this. Number 14. Gato Roboto. A spaceship has crashed and the pilot is trapped, so who's left to save the day? Yep, that's right, his cat, in a mech suit. Gato Roboto is a bite-sized Metroidvania where you play as a tiny feline stomping through corridors, blasting aliens, solving puzzles, and occasionally hopping out of your armor to squeeze through vents like a tiny little fuzzy ninja. It's got the bones of a full-sized adventure, upgrades, secrets, bosses, but it trims the fat. There's no pointless backtracking or filler, just tight design and a monochrome art style that makes everything feel like it was drawn on a Game Boy by someone who grew up watching Saturday morning cartoons. You'll have it wrapped up in about 3 to 4 hours, which is just long enough to scratch the itch without dragging it out. It's goofy, stylish, and plays like someone dared to make Super Metroid but had whiskers and an attitude. Number 15. The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow. You show up in a foggy little English village to dig up an ancient burial site which, believe it or not, may have been buried for a reason. The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow is a folk horror point-and-click adventure where the sheep are suspicious, the locals are evasive, and the pub might be the only place that doesn't make your skin crawl. They aren't going for flashy horror, it's more creeping dread. Long conversations in candlelit rooms, ominous folklore dripping from every line of dialogue, and the kind of pacing that lets unease settle in before anything truly bad happens. Your character is a skeptical outsider, slowly unraveling a mystery that the town would very much like for you to leave alone. The game wraps in about 4 to 5 hours, but will likely stick with you way longer, especially if you play it with the lights off and the headphones on. Number 16. The Ramp. This one's real simple, y'all. There's no score, there's no challenges, nothing to unlock. The ramp isn't trying to impress anyone. It just wants to let you skate. You pick a level, hop on your board, and start flowing through ramps, bowls, and loops with controls that feel more smooth than a baby's butt. This is not a Tony Hawk game, and nor does it want to be. There's no crowds, no camera cuts, and no punk rock soundtrack blaring in the background, even though you can fix that from your end if you want to. It's meditative. Just you, the deck, and gravity. Crashing is part of the rhythm, and landing a perfect spin is pure muscle memory bliss. You can see everything the game has to offer in about an hour, but it's the kind of experience that you'll come back to whenever your brain needs a breather. Number 17, The Rewinder. You are a spirit medium with the ability to dive into people's memories and tweak them. The Rewinder blends Chinese mythology with pixel art murder mystery, letting you hop through the scenes of the past to alter emotions, fix regrets, and nudge the truth into the light. This world that you inhabit is quiet and full of ghosts that are both literal and emotional. You'll be spending your time solving puzzles and navigating dialogue trees where even the smallest changes will ripple forward. There's a melancholy tone to everything, from the gentle music to the faded colors, like you're walking through the worn edges of someone else's life. The game will conclude in about 3 to 4 hours. It's the type of experience that feels like reading a ghost story at dusk, a mixture of anticipation and intimacy. Number 18, What Remains of Edith Finch. You are arriving at the Finch family home, which is an impossible patchwork of rooms piled on top of each other, built by generations of people who never quite left. You see, this isn't a game in the traditional sense. It's more of a series of stories that are stitched together with quiet wonder and deep sadness, all told through rooms of a house that's more scrapbook than shelter. Each chapter drops you into a different relative's final moments, but each one is very different. One becomes a comic book, another a daydream at the fish cannery, and there's some in here that are very, very memorable. The stories range from heartbreaking to darkly funny, and while the themes are heavy, the game handles them with a great deal of grace. You'll likely wrap the game in about 2 to 3 hours, but it's definitely the kind of game that changes how you look at old photos, dusty attics, and the stories that families end up leaving behind. Number 19, Tome. Armed with a camera and some comfy shoes, you set off to see the magical phenomenon known as Tome. It's as simple as that. Tome is a cozy black and white photography adventure where your job is to help strangers, solve quirky puzzles, and capture the right shot of whatever odd thing the world throws at you. The world is isometric, charmingly hand-drawn, and packed with little secrets, from a ghost who wants proof he exists to a seagull that absolutely will steal your hat. Every new town is its own bite-sized sandbox of weirdness, and progress often means noticing the right detail at the right time. It's quite peaceful, silly, and deeply meaningful. Most folks will wrap it up in about 3 to 4 hours, but you'll probably find yourself lingering longer just to complete your album. If you've ever wanted Pokemon Snap mixed with a travel journal, this is probably going to be your vibe. Number 20, Katana Zero. Katana Zero is a 2D action platformer that blends fast-paced action with a gripping neo-noir narrative. You play as Subject Zero, a katana-wielding assassin with the ability to slow down time, allowing for precise strikes and evasions. Each level is a meticulously designed sequence where one hit means death for both you and your enemies, demanding quick reflexes and strategic planning. Between missions, you'll notice that something feels off. Conversations interrupt themselves, reality bends in small and sharp ways. You're guided by a professional whose questions are just a little too specific, and whose interest seems to run deeper than protocol. The game never tells you what's wrong, it just makes you feel it, one unnerving beat at a time. It'll take between 4 to 5 hours to complete, but every second is paced like a loaded gun. Between the combat, the synth-heavy soundtrack, and the absolute chaos of the story, you'll leave wondering if you were ever really the one in control. Number 21, My Side. This is a game about boundaries, between genres, between between systems and between player and character. It begins with the illusion of stability, a dating sim-style interface, a charming assistant, a simple interaction loop. But the deeper you get into it, the more the game rewrites its own structure. What it builds instead is a layered psychological framework where mechanics are tools of control. Dialogue gives way to exploration. The assistant, Yumi, starts as a helpful voice and becomes the narrative center, commenting, directing, intruding. Her presence is embedded not just in the writing, but in how the game behaves. Rooms will reshape, the UI will melt into the environment, and actions begin to feel less like choices and more like permissions that she's granted. The game will run for about 4 to 5 hours, though the time is almost irrelevant by the end. It's not about how long you play, but how much the game ends up playing you. Number 22. A Short Hike. A short hike is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like, except it's also an open-world adventure, a tiny life sim, and one of the most sincere games ever made about needing to get out of your own head. You play as Claire, a bird on vacation who just wants to get a phone signal. So you hike to the top of a mountain and that's it. That's the whole thing, and somehow it's enough to make you feel better about life. The map isn't that big, but it's dense. You'll run into joggers, fishermen, treasure hunters, and one raccoon trying to launch a boat with 0 qualifications. Everything feels handcrafted, like someone whittled a Zelda game down to just the pleasant parts. There's climbing, gliding, swimming, light platforming, and absolutely no pressure. It gently rewards curiosity, but never punishes distraction. If you decide to spend 30 minutes skipping stones instead of reaching the summit, that's still progress. It lasts about 2 hours, but it leaves the kind of impression you'd expect from something 10 times as long. There's no drama, no combat, no twist endings. It's just a kind, funny, quietly moving reminder that sometimes the best way forward is uphill. Number 23. Iron Lung. You're sealed inside a barely functional submersible. There's no windows, the equipment is analog and decaying. Navigation relies on printed coordinates and grainy photo captures. You're told it's for your safety, but nothing about this feels safe. You steer through an ocean of blood, deeper into an unknown moon, chasing fragments of something no one has fully understood. Iron Lung is pure constraint. The controls are limited, the view is non-existent, every image you take comes with a mechanical cough and a delay. The sounds outside the hull, some mechanical, some not, become your only link to what's actually going on outside. Within a few moments, it's abundantly clear that you're not supposed to survive this. The game lasts for about an hour. Good luck. Number 24. Donut County. In Donut County, you play as a hole in the ground, and that's not a metaphor. You're literally a sentient hole, dragging objects and eventually people, buildings, and entire ecosystems into the void. The more you consume, the larger you grow. It's reverse Katamari with the same cheerful chaos, except the person responsible is a raccoon who works in tech support and insists that none of this is his fault. The structure bounces between puzzle levels and flashbacks, slowly unraveling how this town full of talking animals ended up entirely underground. Each stage is a tiny sandbox where you solve problems by making them worse. Knock a soup can off a counter, catch it in the hole, use it to poison someone's lunch. It's that kind of logic. What really sells it, though, is the writing. Witty, self-aware, and just earnest enough that you start to care about these weird little creatures and their post-apocalyptic group therapy session. You can beat it in about 90 minutes, give or take some hole-related experimentation. It's quite short, silly, and a great reminder that sometimes destruction is oddly therapeutic, especially when it's delivered via raccoon tech support. Number 25. The Beginner's Guide. The Beginner's Guide presents itself as a collection of unfinished games made by a reclusive developer named Coda. Your narrator walks you through each of these half-formed worlds, offering commentary on their meaning, their intent, and what they might say about the person who made them. At first, it feels like a game about games, but it doesn't stay that way for long. There's no combat, no puzzle solving, and no real objectives. You're there to walk, to listen, and maybe to interpret. The levels feel like diary pages, messy, incomplete, and sometimes strangely personal. But the longer you listen, the harder it is to tell whether you're learning about the developer or about the narrator himself. It lasts about 90 minutes, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It just sets something down in front of you and quietly walks away. Number 26, Paratopic. It's hard to say exactly what Paratopic is about. You smuggle VHS tapes that aren't supposed to exist, load a gun that you might not fire, and listen to strangers say things that sound like secrets that you were never meant to hear. It's like walking through a cursed PS1 game. It's glitchy, grainy, and haunting as hell. The game loves to jump perspectives. You might be driving at dusk, flipping through a radio station, and then suddenly, bam, you're deep in some forest holding a camera that you don't remember picking up. The world feels rotten around the edges, but no one ever says it out loud. It's not horror in the jump scare sense. It's that creeping kind that crawls in when everything's just a little too still. You'll be out in a little under an hour, about 45 minutes maybe if you push through, but the unease will hang around longer. The deeper you go, the less you'll understand, but you'll want more. Number 27, Before Your Eyes. Every time you blink, time jumps forward. And that's not some metaphorical BS. That in Before Your Eyes, the game literally tracks your blinking through your webcam. Every time you close your eyes, the story jumps. A few seconds, maybe a few years, sometimes just far enough to skip the part you weren't ready to let go of. It starts with a boat ride and a ferryman, and then rewinds through a life one scene at a time. Childhood, creativity, conversations, turning points. You don't pick dialogue or solve puzzles. You watch, listen, and blink. It's not a gimmick. It's how memory works, how time slips, and moments become stories without our input. It lasts about 90 minutes and doesn't stretch itself too thin. To put it simply, this is a clean, focused narrative about seeing the things that really matter. Number 28. Say No More. There's a big red button on your keyboard that says no. That's your only input. No jump, no run, no attack. Just a dedicated key for refusing. In Say No More, you play as an intern in an aggressively polite corporate hellscape. And your one act of rebellion is finally learning to say no. To your boss, to your coworkers, to people trying to steal your lunch. That's the whole game. And somehow, it's glorious. Every interaction is a scene of escalating workplace nonsense. Someone asks you to work through lunch? No. Someone demands you to move their boxes? No. A motivational speaker tries to gaslight you into saying yes again? Absolutely not. You unlock new types of no, like cold, lazy, wiggly, but the gameplay never really changes. It doesn't have to. The joke works, and then it keeps working, mostly because it commits so hard to the bit that it circles around into something weirdly empowering. You can finish it in under an hour, and by the end it feels like a deep breath you didn't know you were holding. No stress, no chance of failure. Just catharsis, absurdity, and the rare kind of game where your only job is to stand up for yourself, loudly. Number 29, Exo 1. A sleek gravity-shifting probe drifts across alien worlds, rolling, gliding, and flying as you ride the terrain and through the sky. Exo 1 turns planetary exploration into one continuous physics puzzle, where controlling momentum feels as natural as breathing and occasionally as breathtaking as breaking the sound barrier. Each planet delivers its own unique environment: icy plains, drifting oceans, rocky chasms, and storm-racked gas giant skies. There's no dogfighting to be had. You're following beacons, mastering physics, and watching where the gravity and wind will take you. It's an experience equal parts Marble Run, marathon, and meditative sci-fi journey. Most players will cross all the planets in about 2 to 4 hours, and most critics have praised its visuals and movement, though a few have noted the story remains a tad cryptic. Number 30, Minute. Every 60 seconds you drop dead. That's the rule. In Minute, your character finds a cursed sword that locks them into an endless cycle of 1-minute lives. You wake up, sprint out the door, accomplish what you can, and then collapse. And then do it all again, keeping whatever progress you've made. The game's challenge isn't about combat or platforming, it's about making every second count. The world is compact, yet clever, full of small puzzles, secrets, and weird little characters with very specific problems. There's a hotel haunted by a single ghost, a desert you can only cross by memory, and a factory full of corporate frogs. And it's all delivered by monochrome pixel art with zero filler and just enough absurdity to make the time pressure feel weirdly fun instead of punishing. You can finish the whole thing in just about 2 hours, but the pace never lets up, and it doesn't need to. A minute trims the fat off everything it touches: dialogue, design, even your lifespan. It's a game about urgency that somehow never feels rushed. Number 31. Milk inside a bag of milk inside a bag of milk. A girl is on her way to buy some milk, and you are the voice in her head, encouraging, interrupting, and maybe guiding, but she doesn't trust you. The world she moves through is fragmented, colorless, and constantly slipping into metaphor. She talks in loops, narrates her anxiety, and cuts herself off mid-thought. Her destination is simple, but the experience is not. Milk Inside a Bag of Milk is a 10-minute psychological episode framed as a visual novel. There's no puzzles, no choices that matter, and no real control. Instead, you're trapped in her mind, where each line of dialogue pushes further into an unstable area. The art is stark and minimal. The game itself only runs for about 20 minutes, but the horror doesn't come from what's outside. It's from being stuck inside with her, listening to the back and forth. Number 32. Unpacking. You're given a box and a room. There's no dialogue and there's no narration, but you're given the act of taking things out and finding where they belong. Unpacking is exactly what it says on the label, a game about placing objects. But through that process, kettles, plush toys, sketchbooks, old t-shirts, it tells a life story with no words at all. Every level is a new living space, a childhood bedroom, a college dorm, a shared apartment. Each item you pull out has a history, even if it's never stated. The act of putting something on a shelf or realizing it no longer fits anywhere becomes its own kind of emotional storytelling. It's subtle, but not distant. The more rooms you fill, the more you understand about the person who owns these things and what they've been through. It takes about 4 hours to complete, but it feels like flipping through someone's photo album one drawer at a time. There's no stakes or mission failed signs. It's just a cozy game with the sort of intimacy that sneaks up on you. Number 33. The Longest Walk. You're walking alongside your father through one continuous path across the neighborhood. It's slow and steady. You can't stop and you can't speed up. The conversation drips out in fragments, short lines, long pauses, and shifting tones. It's not confrontational, it's restrained, like both of you are circling something neither wants to name. The Longest Walk strips narrative design down to its bare minimum. There are no mechanics to master, no choices to make, no goal beyond reaching the end. You could call it an experience if you like. What makes it work is how tightly it controls pace and spacing. The game is based on the developer's own experience with depression, and the weight shows through. The walk lasts for about 30 minutes, and you'll be glad you went on it. Number 34. Frog Fractions. The vibe is that of an educational game from the late 90s. You're a frog catching bugs with your tongue while fractions pop up on the screen, and that's it. It's bad on purpose, and it knows it. But if you stick with it long enough and press the right keys, you'll find out that Frog Fractions isn't actually about fractions, or frogs, or education. What follows is a genre-shifting descent through minigames, business ventures, interstellar bureaucracy, and at least one underwater fruit war. Nothing makes sense, but everything is presented with complete sincerity, which is exactly why it works. The game constantly reinvents itself, usually just seconds before you realize what you're even doing. It's about an hour long, give or take how easily you give in to confusion, but the less you know going in, the better. Just play it. Don't try to figure it out. That's the point. Number 35. Lake. You drive a mail truck. That's it. That's the pitch. There's no crime, no zombies, no dark twist hiding around the corner, just a woman returning to her small hometown to cover for her dad as the local post worker. You deliver letters, drop off packages, and make small talk with the people who still live there. Lake is a game about normalcy, and it's weirdly rare for that to feel like enough. The town, Providence Oaks, is a quiet lakeside community surrounded by trees and gossip. You drive between destinations at your own pace, get to know people, and decide how involved you want to be in their lives. There's a diner waitress who dreams of leaving, a lumberjack with an unexpected side hustle, a video store owner with opinions about cinema. None of it is dramatic, but that's what makes it work. It takes about 4 hours to finish and never asks much from you. Just that you show up, listen, and decide what matters. No timers, no meters, no checklist anxiety, just a mailbox full of quiet stories. Number 36. The Static Speaks My Name. You wake up in a small, dim room. There's a to-do list on the wall. The first item is use the bathroom, and that's how the game begins. Ordinarily enough, but clinical and enough to make you feel uncomfortable. From there, it gets stranger. You follow routine tasks like eat breakfast, check your computer, feed the pet, but nothing about it feels routine. The apartment is clean, but not tidy. The art on the wall is obsessively repeated. The dialogue, what little there is, doesn't explain anything, and the game doesn't wait for you to piece it together. It's not interested in puzzles or progress. It's a snapshot, and you're inside it whether you want to be or not. You're going to finish the game in about 20 minutes, but that's enough. The goal isn't to entertain, it's to put you in a space and let you sit with it. What you take from it is up to you. Number 37. Limbo. A young boy wakes up in the woods. Not a sound is heard other than footsteps and ambient noise. The world is black and white, lit up like a nightmare, full of traps that aren't obvious until they've killed you. There's not really a tutorial, but there is a bear trap that will kill you in the first 2 minutes. Limbo is a platformer stripped down to its core: movement, timing, and reaction. You push boxes, avoid saw blades, solve environment-based obstacles, and die. A lot. The game leans into trial and error, but it never feels cheap. Each failure teaches you something, and the simplicity of the controls keeps it from getting in the way. The world is far from empty. Shadows will move, machines will grind, and some things will even chase you. None of them offer hugs or constructive feedback, though. You'll reach the end in about 3 to 4 hours, depending on how quickly you learn from your mistakes. Number 38. Gris. In the beginning, there's no dialogue. It's just a girl falling through a cracked sky, her voice lost, and the world drained of color. Gris doesn't explain who you are or what you're doing. It lets watercolor landscapes and shifting gravity speak for themselves. You move forward, but that's because that's all you can do. And then, slowly, the color starts to return. Each new section unlocks a new hue, but also a new ability. Turning to stone, swimming through ink, shifting weight like you're rewriting the rules of balance. The environments evolve with you. Temples that fold in on themselves, wind tunnels that refuse to cooperate, staircases that dissolve under your feet. There are puzzles, but nothing you'd call challenging. This isn't a game that wants to stop you. It wants to carry you through. It has a runtime of about 4 hours, and most of that time is spent in quiet movement. No text, no combat, no chance of death. Just a slow reassembly of something broken, told through motion and art direction alone. Gris doesn't ask much of you, but it does give you a lot back. Number 39. The Swapper. Everything is empty. A derelict space station drifts in orbit, abandoned. You walk through metal corridors alone until you find the device. With it, you can create up to 4 copies of yourself, each moving exactly as you do. You can also swap places with them. That's the mechanic, and it's also the problem. The Swapper is a puzzle platformer where progress comes at the expense of your own identity. You're not stacking crates or pulling levers, you're positioning disposable bodies, forcing them into hazards, or abandoning them mid-movement to get ahead. The light sources interfere with your ability to clone or transfer. Timing matters, but what really sets it apart is how wrong it starts to feel. It's not really horror, but it drags your thinking somewhere close. The full run probably takes about 4 to 5 hours, but it hinges really on how quickly you adapt to the systems. Number 40. Indica. You'll begin as a nun. Not your average Sunday school poster girl either. This one hears voices and has a snarky devil tagging alongside for the ride. Indica drops you into a weird alt-history version of 19th century Russia, where the bleak landscapes are somehow less grim than the protagonist's internal monologue. The gameplay is shifting gears constantly, walking, talking, solving puzzles, dodging the occasional surreal interlude where you wonder if your computer is possessed. It's not a very difficult game. The real challenge is keeping up with the moral gymnastics. Is this doubt? Is this a sin? Why does the devil sound kind of reasonable? Depending on how long you take to soak up the weirdness, you'll probably finish the game in about 3 to 5 hours. It's haunting and a little funny in that laugh so you don't cry kind of way. Number 41. Return of the Obra Dinn. The Obra Dinn drifts back into harbor without crew or explanation. As an insurance investigator in 1807, you're sent aboard to figure out what happened, armed with only a journal, a roster of names, and a very strange pocket watch. You explore the ship by stepping into the final moments of each crew member's life, frozen in time by the pocket watch that lets you witness their last moments. There's very little hand-holding. You'll piece things together by recognizing accents, tracking relationships, and obsessing over which guy had the pipe in Chapter 3. Every new body opens the door to another clue, and every answer feels earned. The game takes about 6 to 8 hours to fully unravel. It's a puzzle stitched into a shipwreck, where the only way forward is to observe, deduce, and occasionally take a good look at someone's shoes. Number 42. Tux and Fanny. You'll play as a dude named Tux, a woman named Fanny, a cat, and sometimes a worm. It sounds like the setup to a children's book, but it unfolds more like an existential scrapbook that just happens to include minigames, fart jokes, and moments of unexpected melancholy. There isn't any real objective. You walk around your house, play soccer with a beetle, read books inside books, or ride a bicycle until the sun goes down. Every little interaction feels like it might be meaningless, or like it might be the whole point. It's disarmingly funny, weirdly thoughtful, and low-key obsessed with the idea that everything, even nothing, has value. You can expect to spend around 2 to 3 hours poking at things just to see what happens, and somehow in the middle of all that, you'll stumble onto the kind of lovely moments that games twice as long don't always manage to find. Number 43. Bleak Sword DX. It's a grim world out there, one where everything's made of jagged pixels and your night looks like you just walked off of an ancient Macintosh. But don't let the minimalist art fool you. Bleak Sword DX is all about tight combat, ruthless timing, and the slow, satisfying rhythm of learning from your mistakes. Each level drops you into a compact arena with just enough space to dodge, parry, and flail your cursed blade at whatever eldritch nightmare the game's tossed in. Skeletons, beasts, cultists, or worse. They're all gunning for your single stubborn life bar. The dodge roll alone should win an award. It's smoother than silk. The full gauntlet will take you about 5 hours to slice through, assuming you're not too proud to die. Number 44. Burly Men at Sea. 3 bearded dudes in identical cloaks decide, more or less at random, that it's time for an adventure, and there's your storyline. But from there, Burly Men at Sea branches into a whimsical choose-your-own folktale experience where everything feels like it was illustrated inside of a fancy storybook, or maybe on a tea towel. A very charming tea towel. The game plays like a looping narrative experiment. You guide the trio through different paths that include sea monsters, forest spirits, and being launched out of a whale's blowhole, among other oddly cozy catastrophes. Each playthrough takes just a few minutes, but you're encouraged to retrace your steps, try different choices, and see how the tale changes shape. Plan on about 2 hours to get through most of what the game has to offer, more if you're methodical. Number 45. The Almost Gone. Everything is still here. You're stuck somewhere between life and death, wandering through frozen snapshots of suburban houses, apartments, and forgotten corners of the city. Nothing moves, but everything says something, if you know how to look at it. The Almost Gone is a puzzle game that plays out like a memory palace assembled after the fact. Beautiful, eerie, and just off enough to keep your guard up. Each space is a tiny diorama, clean and angular, like an architect's dream rendered in soft pastels. But the story behind all that symmetry is not so tidy. You're uncovering a life, piece by piece, turning rooms like Rubik's Cubes to align power cords, journal fragments, and to answer questions. It's likely you'll finish the game in about 2 to 3 hours, but that's just enough time to feel haunted in a gentle sort of way. Number 46. Pan Pan. Crash land on an alien planet, meet some extremely polite blobs, and fix your ship using the universal language of solving puzzles with random junk. Pan Pan doesn't give you a single line of dialogue, and that's kind of the point. It's about curiosity, quiet exploration, and figuring out how a sleeping robot, a solar-powered contraption, and a weird humming rock might all connect. The world feels handcrafted, painted in soft pastel tones with just enough visual noise to make you double-check every corner. It's not a huge map, but it winds back on itself in clever ways, encouraging you to keep tinkering until everything clicks. There's no combat, no text, and no pressure. Just you, your busted spaceship, and a series of gentle head-scratchers. You can expect to finish it in about 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. Longer if you stop to appreciate just how good all the little plants look. Number 47. Inside. Nobody tells you what's happening. You're just moving, ducking under fences, squeezing through ruined barns, pressing yourself flat against walls while flashlights slice through the dark. There's no HUD, no help, no clue what you've stepped into, only that something is horribly off and it's just going to keep getting worse. The world feels manufactured, yet hollow, like a place abandoned mid-thought. Puzzles blend seamlessly into the environment, never breaking that spell. You're not going to be figuring things out so much as reacting, adapting, and obeying that itch in the back of your brain that tells you to keep going. Sometimes you're a step ahead, and sometimes you're the bait. You'll wrap it in about 3 to 4 hours, but whenever I tell you that Inside has a very interesting ending, you'll do well to believe me. Number 48. Journey of Haha. Don't let the name fool you. There are no clowns, no pratfalls, and not even a single banana peel in sight. The Journey of Haha is a retro-inspired puzzle adventure that's more about careful thinking than comedy, though it does have a good sense of humor hiding behind the challenge. You play as Haha, a tiny determined adventurer who braves over 60 levels of classic puzzle room design. Each screen is a grid of spikes, switches, enemies, and tiles that vanish when you least want them to. The visuals lean into the nostalgia, bright pixels, chiptune charm, and the kind of tight, predictable movement that makes every mistake feel like it's on you, because it is. You can expect to be around 2 hours to get through it all. Some of these puzzles will make you feel clever, while others will make you pace the room talking to yourself. Both outcomes are valid. Number 49. Refunked. Sunken platforms light up beneath your feet, each jump restoring a world piece by piece. You move through water and sky in fluid rhythm, platforming to soft synth music while the environment slowly rebuilds around you. It's wordless, relaxed, and focused entirely on how it feels to move. The game has no intention of holding your hand. It just puts you in motion and tells the design to guide you. The world will unfold at your pace, shifting and expanding as you climb, wall jump, and stumble across new spaces. It won't let you fail, only flow, and the more time you spend with it, the more meditative it becomes. Expect to finish the game in about 1.5 to 2 hours. Number 50. Line. Alright, hold on to your hats for this one, guys. It's just shapes and lines. You connect one to the next, over and over, linking triangles to triangles, squares to squares, and wondering how something so simple turned your brain into scrambled eggs. The game doesn't explain much. It puts you in the loop and just expects you to figure it out. Each level expands the rules in tiny ways. New colors, new limits, and new headaches. It never yells at you, never throws a timer on the screen, never breaks its own calm. It quietly escalates until you realize you're solving puzzles more by instinct than logic. It takes about 2 to 3 hours to get through the main content, but longer if you fall into the daily challenges. But even a short session feels satisfying, like a brain massage with geometric knives. Number 51. Hindsight. You're sorting through life one object at a time, everything from a spoon to a window latch. Each one becomes a doorway into childhood memories, forgotten conversations, and the kind of moments that really only feel important after they've passed. Hindsight has no interest in puzzles or gameplay loops. It's more like an emotional lens you hold up to the past, rotating scenes until the light hits just right. Some of what you find is lovely and some of it stings, and a lot of it lands in that bittersweet middle space where real memories tend to live. The game will take about 2 to 3 hours to finish, and after that you'll probably want to call your family. Number 52. Super hot. Time only moves when you move. And that's not just the tagline, it's the whole premise. Enemies freeze in place until you start moving, turning every hallway ambush into a turn-based action ballet where you're both the choreographer and the target. Superhot takes the FPS formula, rips it apart, and rebuilds it as a puzzle game wearing a trench coat as a disguise. Bullets hang in the air all around you. You sidestep one, toss your empty pistol into a guy's face, catch his falling shotgun midair, and then blow him away. It's like a John Wick experience on steroids. It's about 2 to 3 hours long, depending on how stylish you try to be. It's short, sharp, and smooth as broken glass falling through the air in slow motion. Number 53. Subsurface Circular. You are a robot detective, confined to a subway car, investigating a series of disappearances among your fellow techs. As the train loops endlessly beneath the city, passengers come and go, each bringing new information, perspectives, and secrets. Subsurface Circular is a concise, dialogue-driven experience where every conversation matters. Utilizing a unique focus point system, you gather keywords and topics to steer discussions, unravel mysteries, and make critical decisions. The game's strength lies in its sharp writing and the depth of its characters, each with distinct personalities and motives. It takes a brisk 2 hours, but it delivers more narrative per minute than almost any other game could do in that time. Number 54. Detention. We're in Taiwan in the 1960s. Martial law is in full effect, and superstition hangs as thick in the air as fear. When a storm rolls in and the school is suddenly empty, you're left behind to uncover something far worse than detention: guilt, loss, and things that don't stay buried. This is a 2D psychological horror game that doesn't rely on cheap scares. Instead, it builds its unease through atmosphere, folklore, and a suffocating sense of isolation. It blends real-world political history with disturbing dreamscapes, where spirits drift through hallways and the silence weighs more than any soundtrack. You don't fight, you just navigate, survive, and slowly piece together why everything has gone to hell. It'll take about 4 hours to complete, and that's long enough in this dark and oppressive world. Number 55. Gorogoa. In Gorogoa, you rearrange the world by moving pictures. Slide an image, stack another on top, zoom in just right, and suddenly what looked like a stained glass window becomes a pathway. The world isn't handed to you so much as it's something you build by noticing. The game works like a dream disguised as a puzzle game. Every panel is hand-drawn and layered with intent, inviting you to peel back meanings through nothing but visual logic. It trusts you to make sense of things and rewards you for being curious. You can expect it to take 1 to 2 hours, depending on how long you spend soaking in the details. It's short, but it reshapes the way you look at the screen and maybe a few things off the screen too. Number 56. The White Door. You wake up in a monochrome room where everything is in its place, and you're expected to keep it that way. There's a routine to follow, complete with breakfast trays, memory drills, and supervised sleep. You don't know how you got here, but your mind keeps drifting to places the staff probably wouldn't approve of. The White Door uses a split-screen format to separate your daily routine from your drifting memories. One side shows the orderly present, and the other explores flashes of a life you're slowly remembering. The game has no intention of trying to trip you up with puzzles. Instead, it's guiding you through something colder and more personal, one simple task at a time. You'll be through with it in about 2 to 3 hours, and by the end you'll be happy that you fit it into your routine. Number 57. Chop Goblins. It begins with a shattered display case, a stolen dagger, and the worst possible version of time travel. Goblins, armed, unhinged, and apparently fluent in elevator operation, tear through 5 chaotic eras, from ancient Greece to a neon-lit dystopia. You'll follow with a flintlock, a steak launcher, and a toaster that weaponizes breakfast. The weapons are ridiculous, the enemies are loud, and every level feels like it was designed during an opium crash. Chop Goblins is a self-described micro-shooter, a fast and focused
fast-paced FPS designed to be finished in one setting. The levels are tight and frantic, and the replayability is surprisingly high for something this unashamedly dumb. It's a rare type of game that takes both speedrunning and goblin-based nonsense head-on. You can expect to beat the game in about 2 to 3 hours. It wastes no time, and neither should you. Number 58. Botanicula. A parasite has infected their home, so 5 tiny plant creatures set out to save the last living seed, and what you get is a surreal point-and-click adventure where logic is optional, dialogue is non-existent, and everything is powered by vibes, bugs, and strange noises. It's weird, colorful, and constantly surprising in the best ways. A game by the company Amanita Design, Botanicula thrives on its handmade animations and musical whimsy. You won't solve puzzles so much as stumble across solutions by poking things until they chirp, spin, or burst into confetti. You can expect to finish the game in about 3 to 4 hours, and then you can go work on your own garden. Number 59, Ape Out. You're an ape, and you're out. What follows is a top-down escape rampage through procedurally generated hallways, with jazz percussion exploding in sync to every punch, grab, and guard thrown through a window. It's stylish violence as rhythm, momentum, and graphic design. Each level is a jazz record, each floor is a track. Guards swarm, glass shatters, blood paints the walls in minimalist brushstrokes. The game is fast and punchy and definitely doesn't overstay its welcome, unless you start over for a faster time, of course, which you probably will. Expect to finish in about 2 to 3 hours. Number 60, Severed Steel. You're Steel, one-armed, armed to the teeth, and launched headfirst into a corporate tower full of people who regret their career choices. Severed Steel is a first-person stunt show built around fluid movement, destructible walls, and the kind of slow-motion shootouts that would make an action movie blush. There's no reloading, but there is weapon juggling, wall running, and sliding through glass at terminal velocity. The campaign moves fast and hits hard, built to be finished in just one setting, but tempting enough to replay for cleaner, faster runs. It's slick, loud, and just chaotic enough to stay fun the whole way through. Expect to finish the campaign in just about 2 to 3 hours. Number 61, Digsium. The museum is just a front. The real action, well, that's all underground, where you'll be clicking through ruins, unearthing lost artifacts, and slowly transforming a sleepy exhibit hall into a sprawling showcase of your own discoveries. Digsium turns archaeology into an oddly meditative loop. Dig, find, unlock, and repeat. It's part incremental clicker, part puzzle game, dressed in cozy pixel art and given a warm blanket of nice music. Progression is very satisfying, especially when the museum above ground visibly updates with every dusty trinket you pull out of the earth. You don't have any combat or timers or anyone yelling at you for excavating with a single finger. Most players will wrap the game in about 2.5 hours, though 100% completion might stretch closer to 3. Either way, you won't need a whip or a fedora. You'll just want curiosity, a mouse, and a good strong clicking finger. Number 62, Balatro. This is poker, but feral. In Balatro, you're not just trying to make a flush or a straight, you're trying to set the table on fire with cosmic nonsense and a deck that gets weirder every hand. This isn't a game for reading your opponent. There is no opponent. It's just you, your cards, and a roguelike descent into probability chaos. Each run starts with a standard 52 card deck, but it won't stay that way for long. Jokers, tarot cards, and planet-themed upgrades twist the rules into something volatile and addictive. You'll boost hands in ways that would make Vegas scream, stacking multipliers, re-rolling luck, and chasing score thresholds before the blinds go up and your strategy crumbles like a bad bluff. Your typical run takes between 2 to 3 hours, depending on how wild your build gets, that is. It's the kind of thing where just one more hand turns into a 1 AM showdown with your own obsession, and you will lose, but you'll also unlock new cards, new modifiers, and new excuses to play again. Number 63, In Other Waters. You're not a deep-sea diver. You're an AI guiding a xenobiologist through an alien ocean, mapped entirely from a cockpit-style interface. Every ping, every scan, every sample matters when the water hides more than just coral.
In Other Waters is a narrative-rich exploration game where wordless visuals meet methodical UI. You interpret Ellery's questions, adjust sensors, plot dive routes, and monitor oxygen. You're not fending off monsters, you're meticulously cataloging life forms while piecing together a mystery that feels bigger than the planet itself. Players report finishing the main story in between 4 to 5 hours. It's an experience that flows at its own pace, rewarding curiosity and careful observation. No action required, just attention. Number 64, Oxenfree. A trip to an abandoned island with your friends sounds like a dumb teen movie setup, and it kind of is, until the radio picks up something it shouldn't, and time starts glitching out, and the rocks start whispering back. That's when you realize Oxenfree isn't doing the usual dumb teen movie thing. The game blends supernatural mystery with grounded teenage drama. You'll walk, talk, and unravel the island's history at your own pace, but there's always something humming underneath it, like the air is a bit too still for your liking, or the silence is watching you. Most players will finish the game in about 4 to 5 hours. It's a compact story with room for multiple endings and hidden paths, and unlike the teenagers in the story, it certainly does not overstay its welcome. Number 65, Untitled Goose Game. You are a goose. You are chaos. One honk at a time, you terrorize a sleepy British village with your beak, your waddle, and your complete lack of shame. You're not here to save the world, you're here to steal a radio, ruin someone's day, and honk with purpose. Untitled Goose Game is part stealth, part slapstick, and part performance art piece where the only goal is mild to moderate disruption. There's a to-do list of tasks: steal hats, trap kids, destroy gardens, and half the fun is figuring out the most obnoxious way to do them. It's charming without being cute, silly without being shallow, and weirdly strategic for a game about poultry-based mischief. Most players wrap it in about 2 to 3 hours, but there's extra fun in going back for bonus tasks or just basking in the low-stakes anarchy. It's a game that knows exactly what it is, and it's perfectly fine being that goose. Number 66, A Memoir Blue. A swimmer's medal ceremony sets the stage, but this isn't about competition. Memoir Blue drifts through abstract memories and submerged emotions, blending 2D illustrations with 3D environments in a story that feels more like a music video than a typical game. It's very reflective and meant to be absorbed rather than explained. The game possesses the vibe of something like an interactive poem. You click, drag, and poke your way through metaphorical puzzles, drifting through childhood flashbacks, misconnections, and the things a mother never says out loud. You'll probably reach the end in a little under 2 hours. It's short and soft, but beautifully strange. The kind of game you play in one sitting and then sit with a little longer whilst the credits roll. Number 67, Journey. It drops you in a desert with nothing but a robe, a glowing scarf, and a mountain gazing down on you in the distance. And that there is your destination. How you'll get there is a slow climb across wind-blasted sand, sliding ridges, and old structures that feel like they've been waiting too long for company. Journey trims the fat off storytelling. There's no words or menus, there's only movement, atmosphere, and the occasional appearance of another player. There's no chat, instead you just blink at each other, short little musical chirps from your character that somehow become a shared language. It's basic but weirdly expressive, and walking through the storm with someone you've never met, chirping back and forth like birds figuring out how to be friends, ends up saying more than most games ever try to. The game will wind down in about 2 hours, and the end is a profound experience that you won't soon forget.
Number 68, Turnip Boy commits tax evasion.
You are a turnip, a delinquent one. You shredded your tax documents, annoyed a mayor, and are now knee-deep in a bureaucratic vegetable uprising. It's like someone took The Legend of Zelda, injected it with memes and produce, and then ran it through an IRS fever dream. The game's a top-down action-adventure filled with dungeons, weird NPCs, and side quests like help the avocado with real estate paperwork, or retrieve a child from a bomb-laden bunker. The combat's simple, the dialogue is ridiculous, and the tone
tone wobbles somewhere between ironic chaos and sincere dumb fun. You're not saving the world, you're mostly just making it worse. You can knock it out in about 2 hours. It's short and stupid in all the right ways, and might make you laugh harder than you'd expect from a root vegetable on the run. Number 69. Tiny Echo. Your job is to deliver mail to ghosts. No one says why, and the spirits don't seem to talk much, but each letter takes you somewhere stranger, past twitching roots, drooling machinery, and otherworldly creatures that gaze like they know something that you don't. This isn't horror, it's just offbeat. You'll play as Emmy, a soft-footed messenger in a sepia-toned dream world. The puzzles are point-and-click simple. Tap a bell, feed a thing, send the envelope, but the vibe is where it lives. Everything feels a little crooked in a way that's comforting and eerie at the same time. You'll finish it in about 1.5 hours. It won't challenge your reflexes or blow your mind, but it might hook into your brain and maybe stay there for a bit. Number 70. Baba Is You. In most puzzle games, you learn the rules. In Baba Is You, you rewrite them. Wall is stop, push the words around until it's not. Baba is you, swap it to rock is you, and then suddenly you're the rock. The game turns basic logic into a sandbox and then hands you a broom and says, good luck with the mess. At first, it's manageable. You push words around to unlock doors or to reach flags. Then it spirals. Sentences get longer, rules start stacking, and suddenly you're breaking space and time just to move a block. It's cute, sure, but don't let the fuzzy pixel art fool you. This thing will bend your brain like a pretzel and then ask why pretzel is defeat. You'll spend around 6 to 8 hours with it, depending on how often you walk away to rethink your life choices. It's a masterclass in minimalism and one of the smartest uses of language in any game, short or otherwise. Number 71. In Stars and Time. You're trying to save the world. Again. And again. And again. In Stars and Time traps you in a time loop where every failed attempt rewinds to the same moment, before your party enters the final dungeon. You'll relive the same day with the same characters and the same looming apocalypse until something, anything, changes. It plays like an old-school turn-based RPG at first glance, with cozy pixel art and a small cast of misfits, but under the surface it's tracking every choice, every loss, every strange conversation you weren't supposed to overhear yet. You'll pick up new tools, unlock fresh dialogue, and gradually stitch together a solution through trial, error, and empathy. The longer you loop, the heavier it all starts to feel. Expect to spend around 6 to 8 hours rewinding through it all. It's heartfelt, weird, and sneakily profound. Number 72. Trek to Yomi. It's black and white, cinematic, and full of people yelling before they die. Trek to Yomi wears its samurai film influences on its blood-soaked sleeves, channeling Kurosawa with every frame. The camera doesn't follow you, it observes, framing each duel like it belongs in a museum. Or like a pagoda. You play a young swordsman cutting a path through a crumbling world. The combat is deliberate and weighty, more timing than button mashing, with every clash feeling personal. But it's the world that keeps pulling you forward. Towns on fire, spirits in the fog, and scenes that feel ripped right off of old film reels. You'll finish the trek in about 4 to 5 hours, long enough to leave a mark and short enough to cut clean. Number 73. Mouthwashing. 5 crew members find themselves stranded aboard the freighter ship Tulpar after it crashes into an asteroid. The vessel's life support is faltering, and the captain lies maimed and mute. And the tensions among the survivors are rising faster than airlock pressure. Tensions are not the only threat, however. Dwindling supplies, psychological strain, and shifting loyalties make every corridor feel tighter than it would otherwise be. This first-person walking sim horror adventure flips between past and present. At one moment you're reliving the pre-crash life through the captain's eyes, and the next you're the co-pilot picking up their fallen post amid foam-blocked halls. The timeline fractures with glitchy transitions, and the story unfolds through sparse dialogue, found objects, and atmosphere that never lets go. Players report completing it in roughly 3 hours. It's a tight, disturbing descent into guilt and desperation. Number 74. Papers, Please. You are a border inspector in the fictional country of Arstotzka. Your desk is gray, your rules are strict, and your job is to stop smugglers, terrorists, and liars with a rubber stamp. Papers, Please turns bureaucracy into a moral gauntlet where checking passports slowly turns into questioning your own humanity. The job starts simple, approve or deny based on paperwork, but each day adds layers: forged documents, shifting policies, desperate families, bribery, terrorism, and your own family slowly starving back home. It's a game of choices under pressure, and not the glamorous kind. You're paid per person processed, and mistakes have consequences. A full playthrough clocks in at around 5 to 6 hours. It's not a game about stamps and rules. It's about who gets to make those rules and what it costs to follow them. Number 75. Quomp 2. You're a pong ball on the run. Not a power fantasy, more like an escape attempt. Quomp 2 starts with a single decision: bounce outside the game and see what else is out there. What follows is a minimalist journey where you navigate a world of traps, tight corridors, and mechanical surprises using just 2 buttons. One flips your angle 90 degrees, the other unlocks tools that gradually expand your movement, and that's all it gives you, and that's all it needs. Precision, momentum, and timing take center stage in a game that feels equal parts arcade relic and existential platformer. It's sparse but never dull. Somehow a tiny square bouncing off hard edges becomes oddly expressive. You'll wrap the campaign in about 4 hours, but its vibe, this strange little act of rebellion, it lingers longer. This story of a deterministic little sprite that learned to want more. Number 76. Doom and Destiny. The game starts with 4 nerds trying to order pizza and accidentally falling into a fantasy world. Within 5 minutes, you're in a dungeon, wielding garden tools and debating whether mana potions violate tabletop etiquette. Doom and Destiny is what happens when a D&D campaign gets hijacked by internet humor. This is a turn-based RPG, absolutely soaked in parody. The 4 friends slot into classic roles: warrior, mage, rogue, cleric, but they take it more as a joke than a quest. The writing breaks the fourth wall constantly. The enemies range from sentient hot dogs to spaghetti monsters, and the plot goes out of its way to be ridiculous. But here's the twist. Underneath all the jokes, it's a surprisingly solid RPG. Deep combat, legit party building, and some cleverly designed dungeons give it substance. The main story runs about 6 to 7 hours for most players. It's short, chaotic, and a little stupid, in the best way. If you've ever argued over dice rules with your best friends, this one's speaking your language. Number 77. Superliminal. It starts with a dream, and then a sign, and then a cube that becomes the size of a Honda Civic because you picked it up while looking at it funny. Superliminal is a first-person puzzle game about perception, and specifically how it lies to you. Doors become walls, floors become ceilings, objects grow or shrink based on how you see them. It feels like if Portal had an art school phase. Everything in the environment is built around forced perspective and optical illusions. Pick up a tiny chess piece and turn around, and now it's the size of a bus. The solutions come not from logic, but from seeing the world differently. It doesn't always play fair, but it knows exactly what it's doing. You can finish the game in about 2.5 to 3 hours, which is the sweet spot. It's very clever, strange, and occasionally profound, like a motivational poster that became sentient and started messing with your depth perception. Number 78. Hypnospace Outlaw. Welcome to the internet, as imagined in the late 90s by someone on too much cold medicine. Hypnospace Outlaw drops you into a neon-drenched cyber world where people browse the web in their sleep. And your job, of course, is to police copyright violations and track down malware while navigating fan pages for fake brands and conspiracy nuts who blog in Comic Sans. It's part detective game, part digital archaeology. You dig through user-created pages that range from cringy to unsettling to weirdly touching, solving cases using nothing but browser tabs, file downloads, and pure intuition. There's no combat nor jump scares, but there is deep-cut satire, inventive puzzles, and a staggering amount of world-building packed into fake websites. The main story runs for about 6 to 8 hours, depending on how much you rabbit hole, and you will get lost, but that's the fun of it, surfing a world that never existed but feels like one you've always known. Number 79. Silt. Drifting through the ocean's deepest, darkest trench, a diver wakes up alone, tethered to nothing but a flickering headlamp. Silt is a monochrome underwater puzzle adventure soaked in dread and surrealism. It doesn't explain itself or give you any hand-holding. You're simply dropped into the deep, and it's up to you to figure out what's waiting below. The game's primary hook is possession. You can leap from your body and slip into the creatures that surround you. Eels to cut wires, hammerheads to smash walls, and stranger things that do even stranger tasks. The puzzles are simple but eerie, growing more elaborate as you descend. The deeper you go, the more hostile and unnatural the world becomes, until you're not sure whether you're exploring the abyss or becoming part of it. You can dive through the game in about 2.5 hours, short enough to finish in one setting, but long enough to leave some pressure on your chest. It's beautiful, it's uncomfortable, and it never lets you come up for air. Number 80, The Forgotten City. Buried beneath the ruins of modern-day civilization lies a Roman settlement frozen in time, its people locked in polite paranoia and its golden statues strangely lifelike. The Forgotten City is a time-loop mystery where morality isn't just a theme, it's law. Break a single rule and the entire world resets. You'll question townsfolk, chase clues, and slowly unravel the tangled thread of who's lying, who's in danger, and what ancient power is keeping this place frozen in time. Every decision carries weight, and while you can go full detective, philosopher, or chaotic agent of fate, the game always keeps you bound to its straightforward rule set. Reminiscent of a choose-your-own-adventure book where the author studied ethics and built a Skyrim mod in their spare time. It takes about 6 to 8 hours to complete, and the pacing rarely drags. You'll want to see every ending, because this city has more layers than its marble columns let on.